Loan request, Rocky Valley Volunteer Fire and Rescue. Yeah.
At the October Board of Supervisors meeting, the board approved local funding for 50% of the cost of new ambulance for Rockfish Valley Volunteer Fire and Rescue. This was with the knowledge that a request for the other 50% from the county's interest-free loan program was going to be coming forward. This request is to finance $155,000 over 8 years and was endorsed by the Emergency Services Council at their October 17, 2023 meeting. The requesting agency currently has no outstanding interest-free loans with the county, and the current balance, as of the writing of this memo, in the interest-free loan fund is approximately $702,914. The staff recommends adoption of the proposed resolution 2023-69, approving the interest-free loan request of $155,000 for Rockfish Valley Volunteer Fire and Rescue.
All right, can we get a motion to approve the interest-free loan request? So moved. Motion from Mr. Parr, is there a second? Second. Second from Mr. Reed. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Objections, abstentions? Hearing none. Motion passes. Moving on to authorization for public hearing on amendment to tax relief for elderly and disabled.
Okay, our Commissioner of Revenue, Pam Campbell, has requested that the board consider amending the county's ordinance to increase parameters for real estate tax relief for the elderly and disabled contained in Chapter 11, Taxation, Article 2, Real Property Tax, Division 2, exemptions for elderly and disabled in the county code. This would specifically raise the maximum income threshold from $50,000 per year to $75,000 per year, and the maximum net worth threshold from $100,000 per year to $125,000 per year. And she's requested this be effective for the 2024 tax year. These particular thresholds have not been changed in the past 16 years since 2007, while values of real property have increased significantly. Currently, the tax value of the existing tax exemption for the 2023 tax year is $123,262. The financial impact of the proposed changes is uncertain, as we have no way of knowing how these would impact citizens' eligibility or how many eligible citizens would apply and be approved for relief. There are a couple other exemption provisions in the state code that are locally determined just as points of information. The home site acreage included in the net worth calculation. While a change in this parameter is not currently recommended by the Commissioner of Revenue, state code provisions provide for exemption of taxes of the qualifying dwelling and the land not exceeding 10 acres upon which it is situated. Our county code excludes the value of the dwelling and not more than 1 acre of land upon which it is situated. The Commissioner, in conversation about this, just said, in considering this acreage threshold, bear in mind that those with 5 acres of land may be eligible for the land use tax exemption. The second locally determined exemption parameter is the minimums and maximums. So while a change to these parameters is not currently recommended by the Commissioner, state code provisions do not dictate that these be a certain percentage and are set locally. So our Nelson County Code Section 11-48 includes a 10% minimum tax exemption and an 80% maximum tax exemption. And these are based upon a combination of income net worth according to the included table. So currently, staff is recommending adoption of the proposed resolution 2023-70, which would authorize a public hearing on the Commissioner of Revenue's recommended changes to elderly and disabled tax relief.
Okay. Any questions for Candy at this time?
So what we're going to do is keep things basically the same, but move the number up.
Correct. Yes.
I think this is a good thing. This is a net positive thing for our community.
Well, right now, you're just authorizing the public hearing on amending the ordinance.
Sure.
You can certainly make
So
changes thereafter.
In December, we'll actually have a vote.
Correct.
Okay. All right, can we get a motion to do a public hearing?
So before we get there, which I'm close, but I just have a question I'm trying to figure out and I don't know. So in addition to this tax credit for elderly and disabled, There's also another tax credit we give for first responders for personal property taxes.
Yes.
I want us to reevaluate that because that also has not been adjusted since 2006. They get tax credit for one vehicle up to only $5,000 of value, and it's been $5,000 since 2006. The question is this: will we need an additional? And I just got a response from the treasurer. From the commissioner. She doesn't think we will need another public hearing. But do you know? Will we need a public hearing for that, or is that considered something different?
Yes, that's a different section of the code, so that would require its own public hearing.
It would.
Yes.
Okay, it'd be nice if we could do both at the same time, but would we have to approve the public hearing at another meeting and then it'd be a month after before we could have it? Or is there any way we could get these going at one time? Because they tie in pretty close to each other. Not to put you on the spot, something to be thinking about. And if we need to do them separate times, that is, just be aware, something that I want us to look at.
I mean, it'd be cleaner to do it separately because you want to lay out the parameters you want to advertise for public
That's
hearing.
fine.
So
Okay, just
we can bring that
put that
back.
on the agenda for a future meeting, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move that we approve resolution R 2023-70, amendment to the code of Nelson County, chapter 11, taxation, article 2, division 2, exemptions for elderly and disabled.
Great, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Yeah.
Second from Mr. Harvey, any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, public hearing in December. All right, moving on to DSS PMA architectural proposal.
All right, we did receive a proposal from PMA Architecture that would cover the DSS building design, bid, and construction administration. The total cost of their proposal is $1,170,780, and it can be broken down as follows. Building and site design and bid document cost would be $893,760. Design of road improvements along Cattle Hill Drive, $50,300. Contract administration services for the building and site, $217,020. And then contract administration services for road improvements at $9,700. So along with their proposal, they included an updated preliminary opinion of probable cost for the project, and that is at $9,557,834. And they arrived at that by $1 million reduction in site work due to a more efficient layout and only phase 1 parking included. A 10% escalation in the construction market over the last 18 months. They used an average projected building cost between the original low and high estimates. They included new furniture in the budget, a security system, some acoustic treatments in the lobby and training conference room, and road improvements along Cattle Hill Drive, along with a site work contingency allowing for a stormwater pond on the site. The preliminary opinion of probable project cost of the $9.5 million can be broken down into architectural and engineering fees of $1,170,780, construction and inspections of $7,571,480. Other, which includes moving, electrical, phone, and bidding of $137,000, and contingency for soil, stormwater, and construction of $678,574. Proposal cost ratios as a percentage of probable project costs. The total architectural engineering fees are 12.2% of the total probable project cost. Just the architectural cost, which includes interior design, is about 7%. Engineering costs, which include structural, MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, civil, technology, and security, are about 5.2%. These ratios seem to be commensurate with known industry standards for new commercial construction of low to mid complexity and of similar cost. I'm happy to take the board's questions, but our staff recommends adoption of Resolution 2023-71, which approves execution of the PMA architecture contract addendum number 4 for design of the DSS building, bid and construction administration. There would also be a subsequent action, which would include in the near future, at a time recommended by the county's financial advisor and bond counsel, staff would present the board with consideration of a reimbursement resolution that would allow for the county to recoup related expenditures incurred 60 days prior to the adoption of the resolution with proceeds of the project financing. Happy to take any questions.
So a question I have, originally we had phase 1 and phase 2 combined, which included the planning, zoning, and building inspection lines. The infrastructure site prep costs that are estimated here, are those going to be sufficient to expedite the phase 2, or will they have to be improved upon in order to do that?
I believe it would include the basic level of site prep, some grading and things to be able to establish a phase 2 project there. But there probably would still be some more phase 2 prep that would need to be done, but it would include the basic getting that area somewhat ready.
But things like the retention pond and the road and the other infrastructure would be sufficient for our
Yes,
phase 2.
that's correct. Yes. That's my understanding.
Mr. Reed, wasn't it one of our conversations, we had one-on-one, in the event Calville had further to be done, whatever we're doing, we hope this is enough infrastructure to carry forward for something additional, such as stormwater at the SWIP, the retention pond and road, and making sure that when we're expanding water and sewer infrastructure, that we're not limiting ourselves to just the ability of that, but maybe a little, with the expectation that something could happen.
Right.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that's part of that baseline.
Yeah, because we have had discussions for the other 3 areas
Yeah.
on
Right.
potential there.
Don't want to put ourselves in a box.
Right.
Won't have to recreate the wheel every time we want to.
Do something else.
Right. Absolutely not.
All right. Any other questions for Candy on this before? It would be really nice if they, we could get them in a high gear. I mean, we were supposed to be done this month.
We, well, they're ready to go. They want to get started as soon as the contract is executed in January.
All right.
I think it will ramp up once we get under contract and get beyond the holidays.
All right. Any other questions before we do any motions? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution R 2023-71, Nelson County Board of Supervisors, authorization to contract architectural services.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Second from Mr. Bart. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's do this is big numbers. We'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Melvin?
Yes. All right, moving on to State Comp Board 2%. R 2023-2072.
Okay. As the board is aware, there was some FY24 additional budget allocations approved by the General Assembly and the governor back in September. One of those things is effective December 1st, 2023, they authorized a 2% across the board salary increase for state compensation board funded positions. This includes Sheriff's Department, Commonwealth Attorney's Office, Circuit Court Clerk's Office, Treasurer and Commissioner's offices. They also authorized targeted increases for these offices, including restoration of unfunded Commissioner of Revenue and Treasurer's Office deputy positions, and these positions are reimbursed at 50% of the budgeted amount approved. So these state compensation board reimbursements for these increases will be based on actual expenses incurred for the 7-month period of December 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023. The position data provided by the State Compensation Board was as of September 19, 2023. The prorated 7-month reimbursement for the position data provided is estimated to be $86,822 and would cover the cost of implementation of these salary increases. The implementation of this would be effective December 1st, 2023. We would apply targeted increases as applicable and a 2% across the board increase based upon salaries as of December 1, 2023. County staff would like to propose a 2% salary increase for all employees effective December 1st, 2023. This would be 2% for all eligible non-probationary full-time county employees and part-time employees. This would be effective December 1, 2023 also. Would be consistent with the State Compensation Board and Registrar's Office 2% salary increase. Also consistent with the school division increase of 2% across the board, with theirs being effective January 1, 2023. And also consistent with neighboring localities to the south and Region 2000 Solid Waste Authority. Okay, implementation of the proposed 2% salary increase would be, again, across the board effective December 1, 2023. Would include all eligible full-time and part-time employees and based upon salaries as of December 1. Salary and benefit costs are shown here with the annual county full-time salary cost with benefits at $80,612. The annual county part-time salary cost with benefits is $16,740 for a total of $97,352. However, this would be a 7-month prorated salary and benefit cost for this fiscal year of $56,788. Staff thinks these costs can be covered within the current general fund budget utilizing vacancy savings in our unfilled positions. So therefore, staff is recommending adoption of Resolution 2023-72, which would approve the applicable targeted increases for constitutional offices and a 2% across the board salary increase for all constitutional offices, registrar's office, and eligible county employees effective December 1, 2023. Subsequent action to this approval would be we have to amend the general fund budget to capture additional costs and state compensation board reimbursement for the constitutional offices and general registrar's salary adjustments.
Questions for Candy? I know we got some constitutional officers in the room. Y'all need to add anything? You said you were just gonna go minus 3%, right?
The nice thing is the state is stepping up and paying for their portion of this salary increase finally.
For just this year, probably. They'll change the market.
I don't think they'll cut their salary next year.
Right. And our compensation that we have done clearly warrants this.
Yes.
That's correct.
All right. If there are no questions, can we get a motion to approve?
I'll move we adopt resolution 2023-72, Nelson County Board of Supervisors amendment of salary and classification system approval of employee compensation adjustments effective December 1, 2023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Parr. Any further discussion? If no discussion, we'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to reports, Candy.
There's a lot here, so I'll try to whip through it as fast as I can. Get myself in order here. Okay.
Anybody left? They came for the money and what?
All right, I'll start with an update on the comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
Yes, I suppose I should say thank you as well. Thank you very much. Okay. As usual, our project website is www.nelson2042.com. We've received additional feedback from the county and the public, which was taken through October 26th, and final edits will be incorporated into a final draft tentatively by December 7th. And then public hearings will be held by the Planning Commission in late January, and then the Board of Supervisors in February. An update on the Piney River Solar LLC special exception in Amherst County that adjoins our Piney River Trail. The Amherst County Board of Supervisors has deferred its public hearing on this permit until December 19th at 7 p.m. The Service Authority is in contract development with the selected firm, CHA, and expects to have a recommended agreement to present to their board for approval at their meeting this morning. My understanding is that that agreement did get approved at the Service Authority meeting today. Once this contractual relationship is established, which it has been, we'll intend to hold some scoping meetings that will be scheduled in order for these proposals to be developed for PERs to evaluate the Livingston water and wastewater system capacities, which will include evaluation of the Dillard Creek area for a water impoundment and treatment plant, and revitalization, modernization of the old Livingston wastewater treatment plant. So I will come back and advise the board of the cost of these proposals for this work when established and get the board's approval to proceed, or not at that point. The county was unsuccessful in its spring 2023 Virginia Outdoors Foundation Preservation Trust grant application for the Sturk Park. We again ranked 13 out of 22. Although the review committee provided favorable comments, the application needs to improve in the criteria of regional and state plan alignment and project readiness. The next grant round will open sometime in January with resubmittal to be determined. The county has been allocated funds of $40,820 for an election security vulnerability reduction grant. This comes from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security through the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, and then through the Virginia Department of Emergency Management with no local match requirement. Staff must now submit an application package and budget submission through VDEM's electronic grants management system within the next 60 days. And the funds will be formally awarded through a grant agreement issued by VDEM. This grant is proposed to provide for secure, accessible entrance/exit points, video surveillance on all 4 sides of the registrar's building, enhancing staff safety and protecting equipment, materials, and processes related to election security. This is inclusive of installation of an additional panic buttons to allow staff to alert local law enforcement of any emergency situation requiring response and not leave a portion of the building vulnerable. Should the county not wish to proceed in initiating the grant, an opt-out notice must be submitted to VDEM before January 8, 2024. We did have a Route 151 corridor study update meeting. VDOT and consultant held a second public meeting on this update at RVCC on November 1st. The VDOT presentation is posted on the county's website under news and announcements. And I believe also VDOT is also posting it, I think, on their 151 corridor study page. This meeting was well attended with citizens Q&A time being very constructive. Primary citizen concerns seem to be through truck traffic utilizing Route 151 and Route 6 to cut over from 64 to Route 29. Speed limits along the corridor were also concerned, business entrance conflicts along Route 151, and the time frame for funded major improvements to take place. Citizens also voiced concerns that the section of Route 151 that included Blue Mountain Brewery was not included in the study update, and that there were less expensive options that VDOT could consider in the near term to address safety concerns along the corridor. VDOT staff noted that the 2013 study that had included the Blue Mountain Brewery was done in conjunction with the Culpeper District, and the current study area was data-driven. VDOT staff noted that there is a local truck size or length restriction in place of 65 feet that is enforced by local law enforcement. However, localities can follow procedures in the Virginia Administrative Code 24 VAC 30-580, as was attached to your report, to request a restriction to through truck traffic on primary and secondary highways. It was emphasized that only the Commonwealth Transportation Board has the authority to restrict through truck traffic on primary highways. VDOT noted that their standards were applied during business entrance approvals. However, localities also could consider enacting a transportation overlay corridor that imposes tighter restrictions than those applied by VDOT. VDOT staff also advised that their revenue sharing program could be utilized to accelerate projects approved under their SMART scale or Highway Safety Improvement Plan funding, which is HSIP. VDOT staff reiterated that a complicating factor on the corridor was speed, and some of the suggested improvements were not only designed to reduce conflict points inherently, but inherently reduced speeds. Examples of this were roundabouts and flashing advance warning signs. Other citizen suggestions included reducing passing lanes and reducing vegetation along the guardrails. VDOT asked that citizens let them know of areas needing any reflective illumination along the corridor. In the coming weeks, VDOT will be initiating an online public survey on the updated plan. Project cost estimates on recommendations will be finalized, and a subsequent VDOT presentation to the board will be scheduled. Yeah, that was a lot. Do you have anything to add, Ernie, on that? Because you were
I want to speak to this during directives.
Okay. All right. We have an update on the Nelson Heritage Center renovation and gym. The NHC staff are working to secure renovation financing and have been allocated $200,000 in state funding through the Department of Historic Resources. The county will serve as the pass-through for these funds, meaning they will be dispersed to the county and then to the Heritage Center following a budget amendment appropriating the funds. The Nelson Heritage Center gym has now passed inspection and can be used for private and public purposes. County Parks and Recreation staff will be meeting with Mrs. Burdett in the near future to discuss any potential for county usage of the facility. Former Larkin Master Planning staff has been working with architectural partners on fine-tuning their work based upon the board's last directive. And they are now poised to present this to the board at its convenience. Staff recommends scheduling this presentation for December 12th at the regular board meeting, and then possibly having a subsequent work session to follow. Okay. So prior to the October meeting of the Albemarle-Charlottesville Regional Jail, I did take a tour of the facility with Colonel Coomer and the ACRJ Board Chair, Diana McKeel. And this did solidify my support for the proposed renovation project. Tonight we'll be having a presentation on the project, and the interim financing will be considered by the board in the evening session. Some statistics provided at the last jail board meeting. As of August 2023, Nelson has utilized 2,361 bed days and had an average daily population of 38, which is an average of 62 bed days per inmate and a local share of 13.6% of the total bed days. The total ADP as of August was 287, which includes 7 inmates classified as federal and other. As of September 2023, the jail has a total of 30 inmates on home electronic incarceration, or HEI, with 4 Nelson participants. Since the beginning of the pandemic in March of 2020, there have been 755 inmates placed on HEI, with 43 being from Nelson courts. Of those 755, 135 have been removed from the program for violations, with 7 of those having been charged with a criminal offense while on HEI. The total number of recidivist inmates on HEI was 14. The Department of Corrections also conducted its every 3-year audit of the jail's processes, procedures, and compliance with minimum standards for jails and lockups, and the facility was found to be 100% in compliance. Superintendent Coomer reported at the September meeting that ACRJ exceeds these minimum standards in many areas of the evaluation. So I recently attended the Virginia Animal Control Association conference banquet at the invitation of the Director of Animal Control, Kevin Wright. This was held in Charlottesville, and our department and many others around the state were recognized for their excellent work. I was honored to meet the Assistant Attorney General and Director of the Animal Law Unit, Michelle Welch, and some of the officers on the Attorney General's Animal Welfare Task Force. And they all spoke very highly of our department, which was not a surprise to me. County staff and Supervisor Reed have been participating in the study of the feasibility of establishing a regional transit authority within the TJPDC planning district. TJPDC staff and the hired consultant are scheduled to provide a report of the study findings to the board at the December 12th meeting in the afternoon session. We are starting our FY25 pre-budget planning, whereby staff has issued agency budget request forms and will soon distribute departmental budget request forms to begin building the FY25 budget. I attended a Jefferson-Madison Regional Library pre-budget planning meeting, and the executive director indicated they had no major services to be added, and their top priority would be moving staff to competitive pay rates based upon results of a compensation study being done by Charlottesville City. He's anticipating asking for a salary increase of 5 to 7% for library staff. Additionally, the school superintendent has indicated they may ask for an increase in funding, primarily related to their need for additional behavior specialists. We had a Region 2000 Solid Waste Authority meeting that I attended in October, in which the Solid Waste Authority staff have provided pro forma financials that indicate an increase in tipping fees will be needed for the remaining period of FY25 to FY29. The tipping fees have not changed since 2018, and they're at $30.25 a ton for members and $40.25 a ton for commercial haulers. This is primarily, the increase that is primarily to begin funding substantial contributions to the landfill closure and post-closure reserve fund as the landfill capacity nears its estimated closure horizon of 2029. These pro formas suggest that the FY25 tipping fees of go to $38.64 per ton for members and $48.64 per ton for commercial haulers. The closure post-closure reports for the landfill indicate an August 2023 liability of $16,272,253, with Nelson County's responsibility being 3.97% of that, or $646,008. This total liability is reduced by any funds the authority contributes to the closure post-closure reserve fund, which currently has a balance of $3,338,185. This proposed tipping fee increase of $8.39 per ton would increase the county's FY25 disposal cost by an estimated $83,900. So I was hoping to get some input from the board on our stance regarding the potential increase. This past budget year, myself and Appomattox both voted not to increase the tipping fees, just kind of pending the outcome of our litigation that's in process.
Stay strong.
Although, I mean, it doesn't seem quite unreasonable to increase the tipping fees, but you're either going to pay some now or you're going to pay some on the backside when the landfill eventually closes. So just want to get your guidance on how you want me to proceed when that topic comes up.
Do you need that now?
Not necessarily now, but it'll be upcoming, so feel free to
Well, that's
think about it and let me know.
some aspects of that is a bit confidential.
Do we need another closed session to
I would say,
go over that?
I think that'd be the only way we could really give you really good.
Okay,
So,
That way we can discuss it.
yeah, in December.
all right, sounds good. Do you have any questions on anything? I've just kind of gone through fairly quickly.
Last school board meeting, Ernie, you were there. What did they say the school population is going up by?
I've got the numbers, I'd have to look it up, but it has gone up.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was trying to find
Yeah,
out.
it's not, it's 2%, it's not very much,
Okay,
but it has gone up, which is a trend, which is good.
Right,
10 years.
yeah. And my understanding is still that the students that they are retaining are a little bit more expensive due to their needs.
Right. Gotcha. All right. Any other questions for Candy at this time before we go on to board reports? Good, thank you, Candy.
All right, thank you.
Board reports, Skip.
Well, the jail board is coming here tonight. So wait to then, much more information.
All right, Tommy. What? There we are. All right, Ernie.
Just wanted to underscore that this morning, the Service Authority approved the engineering study for the possible delivery of property. So that is moving, which is very, very good.
Who do they use? Just normal people see it, sorry. Far? I don't really have too much to report. It's been a wild month. I was unable to make the PDC meeting. And then we had a regional housing partnership meeting recently. We have some new staffers, so that'll be interesting to see. I did, in my own private capacity, I went to the Governor's Housing Conference, and I got to hang out with some interesting individuals who were talking about the housing situations across the state. And again, I was on my business hat on while I was there, but it was very intriguing to hear the discussions about what is expected to happen in the latter part of next year when interest rates begin to go down. Because we had some data that showed essentially the percentage of Virginians who are able to infiltrate the current housing market was like 20%. Don't quote me on that, but it was such a really heinously low number that and what happens as interest rates begin to fall? What percentage are we able to then infiltrate the housing market? It's a really scary statement of affairs, especially in the context of Nelson County. With the recent news as well, that in our neighboring jurisdiction, Waynesboro, Norfolk Grumman, just got a $200 million investment of some sort and 300 jobs that are going to be paying really sizable amounts of money. What does that mean for, obviously, the Waynesboro area? I believe it could be a good thing, but will trickle into, again, more of a housing problem that we'll have on our side of the mountain. So it was just kind of interesting to see the various moving parts. But beyond that, that's all I got to report right now.
I just remembered something that Candy mentioned was the TJPDC Regional Transit Governance Study. And that was really interesting because a lot of the TJPDC and people that were on this weren't aware of the kind of unique situation we have here in Nelson, which is that a great deal of the transportation funding that we team up with, goes north, and a great amount of the transit needs that we have are in the south part of Nelson County. And so that poses some unique challenges that the rest of that district doesn't necessarily share. So Candy and I kind of underscored that in terms of the meeting, and we're hoping that we're able to come up with a model that's going to be able to help us do a better job providing services in the south, the west, the east parts of the county, for sure. because the needs are a little bit less significant in the northern parts of the county who have more direct lines to, Point Grove, Stanton, Charleston. So, just wanted to bring that up to let you know that it's in process.
All right, so that was the board reports. Let's go to appointments.
All right, so previously we discussed that we were going to have a vacancy in the Nelson County Search Authority North District. Mr. Shemp had said he would serve until the end of the year. As of today, he has said that he does desire to continue to serve and would like to withdraw his resignation. We had also posted this, for applicants, and we did receive an application from Mr. Cameron Linehan. So that is a point of discussion on Mr. Shemp's withdrawal to resign.
All right,
Do we have to take any action to reinstate Mr. Shemp?
I think it would probably be good.
Maybe good to just, if you choose to accept his withdrawal, and allow him to continue to serve his term through June of 2026.
I move that we allow Mr. Shemp to serve out his current term to June 2024.
And that's
26.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any other discussion? You're done. We'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to Job Council on Aging. Oh no, that's already filled.
But we need to reappoint
Mr.
Ross
Carl.
Stellag to that position.
Yeah,
I'd already make a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to move we reappoint Carl Stellway to the Job Council.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Second, Mr. Parton. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to correspondence. Mr. Barton? Nope. Mr. Hardy?
Nope.
Mr. Reed?
Just quickly in terms of correspondence, I guess the Virginia Association of Counties might qualify under this.
Directive?
No, it's not a directive. It's really just a point of information. The Education Subcommittee and the Legislative Platform contains some really good language about looking at revisions to the current ratio composite index by which it's determined how much our county is required to pay and how much the state is required to pay, trying to get a little more parity in that. So that was a real good thing to see that legislative program passed. So
Part of that, it should be pointed out to the public that it was, in the study that was done, it was pointed out that Virginia was rated near the bottom in the amount of money the state contributed to public education, and that, so there was a talk and movement towards increasing the amount of contribution of the state to public education.
Only part of that discussion was they refused to update the study because they were so severely behind.
well, they didn't release it.
Well, they didn't release it. Got it. Okay, so they did. They just didn't share.
I mean, the amount of money the state of Virginia is behind the other states is very significant.
Yeah, they're rated behind both adjoining states, Kentucky and West Virginia.
West Virginia, like 20%.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna add a little something to that. So, some discussions Mr. Parham I had on this particular subject was just making sure that at least our new legislators and all of our legislators had a copy of this JLAR study. So we're gonna, work towards getting that out to them and talking to them about it.
One of the interesting things that happened to me this weekend was somebody suggested that the county should invite the people who represent us in the state government to come in front of the board and explain what they're doing, what their priorities are.
So,
Then we should issue them an invitation to come. I thought it was a great idea.
this has been done in the past. They used to, back in the day, you would have like Watkins Abbott, all those individuals, they used to come around all the time. It's been in the digital age, really, is when you saw that level of participation kind of go down. I agree, we should invite them all the time.
I mean, I've been here 4 years and we haven't
No,
seen one member of the state legislature in front of us to ask questions.
John Bowley, but that wasn't in the past 4, it was about 5, 6 years ago.
But, you know,
We can certainly do that, and then hopefully they might take us up on it.
Of course, they're going into session in January and February.
Right.
It's part of the struggle. By the time we need to get them, we gotta get them in December. Because they go and do their business January, February.
It was described that now they're all sitting in front of fire hose,
Yeah,
Right.
metaphorically.
well, let's do it.
Give
December,
it a go. We'll give it a try.
I invite them.
just invite them, see what happens.
Thank you.
One other thing is very exciting news related to Nelson County. The efforts for line of duty benefits for police officers who are serving in bona fide police offices recognized by the state has been adopted by the Virginia Association of Counties. And if I'm not mistaken, we were up to close to 13 or 14 counties and cities and municipalities that are also have passed our resolution on behalf of Chris Wagner in support of that that legislative change. It's pretty exciting. It's a really big deal. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be there in January, February, and we'll get some good stuff figured out on that as well. Any other correspondence, Dave? The only other correspondence I got was about tonight's special use permit. So, which, for the record, if anybody's here to hear that, SUP 1050 has been deferred until December. The applicant was fairly sick and was unable to make it tonight. Moving on to correspondence with that, directives, or any other directives?
Candy, thanks for the report on the 151 corridor study. And also thank you for including the information on the need that we have to authorize a public hearing to start the process of proposing to limit pass-through truck traffic on 151. So I'm hoping that we can start that ball rolling and set a public hearing to be able to do that. One of the other recommendations that I think is also not premature, since we've had the corridor study and a lot of comment on it, I've lived with this for a long time. Do you know, Candy, if we need a public hearing for a reduction of the speed limit from 55 to 45, the maximum speed limit on 51?
Don't know the answer to that, but I think we would have to request a speed study
Yeah,
for that particular thing.
Yeah, I requested a speed study 2 years ago, and we have the results of that speed study. I brought that up at the meeting, and I think that may have been sufficient for us to move forward on it. If we could just check that and find out if we can, because if we have to have a public hearing on one, it would be a good idea to have them both at the same time, since they're both related.
Where is this thing?
This is the 151 corridor, the corridor study that was just done by VDOT in the public meeting that Candy and I attended.
What section is it?
It's the entire length of 151 to restrict pass-through.
Not all the way to Amherst, right?
151 to, well, it would only be, I guess, Nelson County, I'm not sure exactly.
We probably.
Yeah, we would have to identify the termini of the restriction.
Okay. Well, I would imagine that it would stop in South of 56.
who requested this?
It was one of the recommendations made by VDOT, in response to the public's comments on the 151 corridor study.
So should staff,
Not interested in doing training.
How are you interested in it?
There's been a huge amount of public input and discussion about this.
The wrecks are not there. Nobody's getting hurt.
Well, the impacts are there. The data that was given by, that was presented by 151, by VDOT at the study, had, what, 7 unsignaled intersections, and where they had the data.
All right. So you'll coordinate with staff what that stuff is?
Whatever I can do for those two things.
I'm thinking that we would coordinate together and go through the requirements of the public hearing notice.
Yes.
Maybe get everything in order to do with that, and then come back to the board for authorization to go to public hearing. Does that sound
Yes.
like a reasonable
Because we have to
process?
We have to authorize the public hearing.
Yes, okay. Just want to make sure that's what you had in mind as well.
Okay. And the third piece of that for safety along 151 has to do with the Blue Line Solutions proposal for the cameras along the school zones. And we've had public hearing on it, but we haven't had it as on our to-do list. So I'd like to maybe put that on our, put it on our, unfinished business list for next meeting.
Where are you coming from, Renee? I mean, are you just trying to take 151 and turn it into like a secondary road?
Trying to respond to the safety issues that exist along 151 that are, really, really clear and, that I hear from my constituents on a very regular basis.
My constituents don't live up there, and I live there, and I don't have all this information you have.
I'd refer you to the data for the corridor study.
I mean,
That's
you got
that's
two
what I-
major roads through Nelson County, 29 and 151. You will take one and just cut it out.
Well, as pass through, not that, they would still allow truck traffic.
It is a pass through. I mean, you can expect us to go back and come right down and Livingston and go? It just doesn't make any damn sense at all.
Well, trucks that are going from, Lynchburg to Stanton, for instance, making connection with the interstate.
Have you seen the accident studies? I'd like to see that because I'm there and respond to it and don't know any amount of them.
Well, it'll be a good discussion to have.
Any other directives?
Yeah, if we're gonna have Blue Line discussion on the December agenda, I think it would be important for us to bring our upcoming sheriff into that conversation. I think that will be a good conversation for us to have with him as well.
Well, we could,
Invite him to that meeting,
yeah, absolutely.
extend an invitation to make sure he's aware that that'll be a conversation.
Yes. I was under the impression that we were gonna revisit the transit occupancy tax around this time. And, I would like to revisit that in December. Would anybody have an objection to that? Could you put that on the agenda for December?
I
I'm saying-
I certainly can if that's the board's desire.
Well, I just asked them.
We all want to do.
I wouldn't object.
Anybody else?
I have a question too. Let's say we were to pass an additional tax. Could we direct that towards anything particular, or it just goes into the general fund?
You certainly could direct, if you wanted to designate it or allocate it towards something in particular, you certainly could do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other directives? Looks like December's gonna be extremely busy.
That's right.
Any other directives before we, continue? Now, can we get a motion to continue to our evening session?
So moved.
Motion second, Mr. Parr, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.